Not quite as good. It will be as good. I mean, I think we'll match human experience by 2029. That's been my idea. Uh, it's not. It's not as good.
Which is the best image generator right now, Jamie?
Pull one up. They really change almost from day to day right now. But like Midjourney was the most popular one at first, and then Dolly I think is a really good one too.
Midjourney is incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive graphics. I've seen some of the Midjourney stuff. It's mind blowing. And
Still not quite as good.
but boys, it's so much better than it was 5 years ago. That's what's scary.
Yeah.
It's so quick.
I mean, it's never going to reach its limit. We're not going to get to a point, okay, this is how good it's going to be. It's going to keep getting better.
And what would that look like? If it can get to a certain point, it will far exceed what human creativity is capable of.
Yes. I mean, when we reach the ability of humans, it's not going to just match one human. It's going to match all humans. And it's going to do everything that any human can do. If it's playing a game like Go, it's going to play it better than any human.
Right. Well, that's already been proven, right? That they have invented moves.
Yeah.
AI has invented moves that have now been implemented by humans.
Right.
In a very complex game that they never thought that AI was going to be able to be because it requires so much creativity.
Right. Art, though, we're not quite there, but we will be there. And by 2029, it will match any person.
That's it? 2029. That's just a few years away.
Well, I'm actually considered conservative. People think that will happen like next year or the year after. But I actually said that in 1999. I said we would match any person by 2029, so 30 years. People thought that was totally crazy. And in fact, Stanford had a conference. They invited several hundred people from around the world to talk about my prediction. And people came in, and people thought that this would happen, but not by 2029. They thought it would take 100 years.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that, but I think people are amending those. Is it because human beings have a very difficult time grasping the concept of exponential growth?
That's exactly right. In fact, still economists have a linear view. And if you say, well, it's going to grow exponentially, they say, yeah, but maybe 2% a year. It actually doubles in 14 years. And I brought a chart I can show you that really illustrates this.
Is this chart available online so we could show people?
Yeah, it's in the book.
But is it available online, that chart, where Jamie could pull it up and someone could see it? Just so the folks watching the podcast could see it too. But I can just hold it up to the camera.
I can pull it up on the pictures they sent. What's it called? What's the title of it?
It says Price Performance of Computation 1939 to 2023.
I have that.
You have it. Okay, great. Jamie already has it. Yeah, the climb is insane. It's like the San Juan Mountains.
What's interesting is that that's an exponential curve, and a straight line represents exponential growth. And that's an absolute straight line for 80 years. The very first point, this is the speed of computers, it was 0.0000007 calculations per second per constant dollar. The last point is 35 billion calculations per second. So that's a 20 quadrillion-fold increase in those 80 years. But the speed with which it gained is actually the same throughout the entire 80 years. Because if it was sometimes better and sometimes worse, this curve would bend. It would bend up, bend down. It's really very much a straight line. So the speed with which we increased it was the same regardless of the technology used. And the technology was radically different at the beginning versus the end, and yet it increased the speed exactly the same for 80 years. In fact, the first 40 years, nobody even knew this was happening. So it's not like somebody was in charge and saying, okay, next year we have to get to here, and people would try to match that. We didn't even know this was happening for 40 years. 40 years later, I noticed this. For various reasons, I predicted it would stay the same speed increase each year, which it has. In fact, we just put the last dot like 2 weeks ago, and it's exactly where it should be. So technology, and computation is certainly a prime form of technology, increases at the same speed. And this goes through war and peace. You might say, well, maybe it's greater during war. No, it's exactly the same. You can't tell when there's war or peace or anything else on here. It just matches from one type of technology to the next. And this is also true of other things, like, for example, getting energy from the sun. That's also exponential. It's also just like this. It's increased. We now are getting about 1,000 times as much energy from the sun that we did 20 years ago.
Because the implementation of solar panels and the like.
Yeah.
Has the function of it increased exponentially as well? The function of, because what I had understood was that there was a bottleneck in the technology as far as how much you could extract from the sun from those panels.
No, not at all.
No?
I mean, it's increased 99.7% since we started.
Right.
And it does the same every year. It's an exponential curve. And if you look at the curve, we'll be getting 100% of all the energy we need in 10 years.
The person